Have you ever stopped to think about what you wear to Holy Mass? Most people walk in without a second thought, choosing whatever feels comfortable or trendy, completely unaware that their choice of clothing could carry spiritual consequences. It might sound surprising, even shocking, but the garments you wear are not just fabric covering your body. They send a message, and not just to those around you. They speak to God. Every stitch, every color, every style can reflect the attitude of your heart, your level of reverence, and even your openness to receive blessings. Imagine walking into a sacred space, the place where heaven meets earth, and your clothing is sending the wrong signal. It may seem small, but it matters. God sees it all. The Mass is not just a routine, a habit, or a social gathering. It is a sacred encounter. And in sacred moments, details are powerful. What you wear can affect your focus, your spirit, and even the atmosphere around you. When we dress carelessly, we can unconsciously block the flow of God's favor and diminish the spiritual power of our own presence. But when we dress with intentionality, with respect and reverence, something shifts. Our hearts align, our spirits open, and blessings begin to flow in ways we might never have imagined. Today I want to reveal to you the garments you should never wear to Holy Mass, why they matter, and how something as simple as clothing can become a barrier or a bridge to divine favor. Stay with me because this is more serious than most people realize, and it could change the way you approach God's house forever. Why this matters. Holy Mass is not just another event on your weekly calendar. It is a sacred encounter where heaven touches earth, where the presence of God fills the space, and where our hearts are meant to connect deeply with the divine. Every gesture, every word, and every action we take during Mass carries weight. The reverence we show in our posture, in our prayers, and yes, in our clothing, reflects the condition of our hearts. God notices these things. He sees not only the devotion in our words, but also the attitude revealed in the small choices we make before entering His presence. When we approach Holy Mass casually, without thought, without care, it may communicate an attitude of indifference, even unintentionally. On the other hand, dressing and behaving with reverence signals that we recognize the sacredness of the moment, that we honor God, and that we desire to enter His presence with humility and respect. Our clothing in particular is more than just a personal preference or a fashion statement. It carries messages to those around us and even to the spiritual realm. When we dress inappropriately or carelessly, it can become a distraction not just to ourselves but to others. It can pull attention away from the worship, from the focus on God, and subtly shift the atmosphere. Conversely, when we choose garments that reflect modesty, respect, and reverence, it contributes to an environment where the presence of God can be fully experienced. The Mass becomes a place of peace, devotion, and spiritual awakening. It sets the tone for the encounter, creating a space where the heart can align with heaven, where our prayers are unhindered, and where blessings can flow freely. But it's not just about appearances. Dressing appropriately is a spiritual discipline, a tangible act of obedience and respect. It demonstrates a heart that is willing to honor God in every way, even in the seemingly small things. Scripture reminds us that God looks at the heart, but He also values acts that reflect that inner devotion. By preparing ourselves carefully, our minds, our hearts, and our clothing, we are creating a posture of honor that opens doors for revelation, favor, and divine movement in our lives. The garments we wear are like an unspoken prayer. They speak to God about our intentions, our reverence, and our desire to worship rightly. When we take the time to dress with thoughtfulness and respect, we show that we recognize the sacredness of the moment. It is not about legalism or rigid rules. It is about cultivating a heart that desires to be fully present with God, free from distractions, fully aligned with His Spirit. Every Mass is an opportunity, a divine appointment. When we approach it carelessly, we risk missing blessings, revelations, and spiritual encounters that could change our lives. But when we honor it intentionally, even through our choice of garments, we step into a posture of faith, expectation, and alignment with God's purpose. The small choices matter because they reflect the heart, and God always notices the heart. Today, as we explore the garments you should never wear to Mass, remember this: it's not about judgment or condemnation. It's about understanding that the sacredness of Holy Mass deserves our full attention, our full reverence, and our full respect. The way we dress, the way we present ourselves is a doorway to experiencing God's presence more powerfully, more freely, and more deeply than ever before. Spiritual perspective on clothing. Clothing is never just fabric. It is a statement, a reflection, a message. Every choice we make about what to wear communicates something about our heart, our values, and our intentions. When we step into Holy Mass, we are entering a sacred space where heaven and earth meet, a place where the presence of God dwells. In this space, what we wear becomes more than a personal preference. It becomes a spiritual language. God sees it, others see it, and the spiritual realm responds to it. The garments we choose speak silently about the condition of our hearts. They reveal whether we approach God with honor, reverence, and humility, or whether we enter carelessly, distracted, and unconcerned. Think about it for a moment. When someone comes to an important meeting, a wedding, or a formal gathering, they carefully select their clothing to convey respect and seriousness. Why should approaching the house of God be any different? In fact, it is far more important. Holy Mass is not just a social event, it is a spiritual appointment, a divine encounter. Our clothing, therefore, becomes a visual prayer. It declares without words, I honor you, Lord. I come prepared. I respect your presence. Conversely, when we wear garments that are revealing, sloppy, or disrespectful, the message we send is the opposite. Even if our hearts are sincere, our outward appearance can create a subtle disconnect, a distraction, or even a barrier in our worship. God looks at the heart, yes, but He also delights when our outward actions reflect our inward devotion. Clothing also communicates to others. Worship is a communal experience. The way we dress can inspire, uplift, or even distract those around us. Modesty, cleanliness, and respect in our attire encourage others to focus on God, to step into the sacred moment fully, and to honor the presence of the Holy Spirit. On the other hand, attire that draws attention to ourselves instead of God can shift the atmosphere and draw focus away from what truly matters. Every detail, from the simplicity of a dress to the neatness of a shirt, contributes to the spiritual environment, creating a space where God can move unhindered. The spiritual perspective on clothing extends beyond rules or traditions. It is a principle rooted in understanding that every action has spiritual significance. Even something as seemingly mundane as putting on a shirt or choosing a skirt carries weight in the eyes of heaven. When we dress intentionally for Holy Mass, we are not merely obeying a set of rules, we are creating a pathway for God's blessings to flow. We are presenting ourselves in a way that honors Him, demonstrating that we value the encounter more than our comfort, trends, or casual habits. Ultimately, clothing is a mirror of the heart. It reflects what we value, what we honor, and what we bring into the presence of God. It is an act of worship, a visible prayer, a spiritual discipline. When we understand this, we begin to approach Holy Mass with deeper awareness, care, and reverence. The garments we choose become more than a wardrobe decision. They become a declaration of faith, a statement of respect, and an invitation for God to move powerfully in our lives. Today, as we explore the garments to avoid, remember this: every piece of clothing you wear carries a spiritual message. Every choice is an opportunity to honor God, bless others, and step into His presence fully aligned in heart, spirit, and appearance. Garment 1: revealing or provocative clothing. When it comes to attending Holy Mass, Modesty is not just a suggestion, it is a spiritual principle that carries weight in both the physical and spiritual realms. Clothing that is revealing or provocative draws attention in ways that can disrupt the sacred atmosphere. Holy Mass is a time to focus on God, to engage fully in worship, and to allow our hearts to be touched by His presence. When we wear garments that expose too much or invite inappropriate attention, it shifts the focus from God to ourselves. Our clothing can become a distraction not only for us but for others around us. The spiritual environment of Mass is delicate. It is created by reverence, prayer, and the intention of each person present. Revealing attire can unintentionally fracture that atmosphere and pull attention away from the worship of God. Modesty is about more than covering the body. It is a reflection of the heart. When we dress modestly, we demonstrate humility, respect, and an understanding of the sacredness of the space we are entering. It communicates to God and to those around us that our focus is on Him and not on seeking human attention or approval. Dressing provocatively may speak more about our desire to be noticed than our desire to honor God. The garments we choose silently broadcast our priorities, and God notices every detail. A heart that values modesty is a heart that values reverence. When we honor God with our clothing, we are training our spirits to focus, to submit, and to participate fully in the sacred moment. Beyond the spiritual implications, modesty also affects our personal experience of Mass. Provocative clothing can stir unnecessary thoughts or feelings that interfere with prayer, reflection, and worship. It can lead to distraction, discomfort, or even feelings of guilt or shame, pulling our attention away from the divine encounter we came to experience. When we dress modestly, we free ourselves from these distractions, creating a space in our hearts and minds where God's presence can flow freely. It becomes easier to engage fully, to hear His voice, and to receive the blessings He has prepared for us. Modesty is also a form of spiritual discipline, choosing clothing that honors God rather than following every trend or personal desire, strengthens our ability to submit to His will in other areas of life. It is a visible act of obedience, a simple yet profound way to say, Lord, I respect you. I honor your presence. I come ready to worship you fully. Every time we choose modesty, we align our hearts with reverence, creating an environment where God's Spirit can move unhindered. Finally, modest clothing communicates respect for others. Mass is a communal worship experience. The way we dress can uplift, inspire, and encourage others to focus on God rather than being distracted. It sets an example, teaching through action the value of honoring sacred spaces. When we embrace modesty, we are participating not only in our own spiritual growth, but also in creating an atmosphere that nurtures the faith of those around us. Revealing or provocative clothing may seem harmless to some, but in the sacred space of Holy Mass, it carries consequences. Choosing modesty is not about restricting freedom, it is about channeling our focus, our hearts, and our intentions toward God. It is about creating a worship environment where divine encounters can flourish. When we honor God with our attire, we open the door to His presence, His blessings, and His power in ways that cannot happen when our attention or the attention of others is diverted. The garments we wear are a spiritual statement, and modesty ensures that statement is one of honor, respect, and full devotion. Garment 2, clothes with offensive images or words. Clothing with offensive images or words may seem like a casual choice in everyday life, but in the sacred context of Holy Mass, it carries a completely different weight. Every space we enter has its own spiritual atmosphere, and the Mass is no ordinary space. It is a holy encounter, a time set apart for worship, reflection, and communion with God. When we wear garments that display negative messages, profanity, or disrespectful images, it sends a subtle yet powerful signal to both God and those around us. The spiritual atmosphere can be affected by our choices, even those that seem purely physical or stylistic. What we wear speaks loudly before a word is spoken. It communicates our heart, our focus, and our reverence, or lack of it. Offensive clothing can clash with the sanctity of Mass in ways that we often underestimate. The images and words on our clothes carry meaning. They reflect attitudes, values, and messages that may contradict the sacredness of the moment. When we step into a space dedicated to worship, forgiveness, and divine presence, bringing negativity on our clothing can create an invisible tension. It may not always be obvious, but it subtly distracts, disrupts, and diminishes the spiritual engagement of both ourselves and others. God honors our hearts, yes, but He also delights in our expressions of respect and devotion. Dressing in a way that undermines the holy purpose of Mass demonstrates carelessness and lack of awareness for the sacred encounter we are stepping into. Our clothing is a form of communication, a visual language that speaks even when we are silent. Words or images that are offensive, vulgar, or controversial can overpower the spiritual atmosphere, pulling attention away from God. Worship is meant to be a time of focus, of lifting our hearts and minds toward heaven. When the garments we wear carry conflicting messages, it creates a spiritual dissonance, making it harder to fully engage with the divine. Even if our intentions are pure, the messages on our clothes can work against our desire to worship effectively. Wearing offensive or disrespectful clothing also affects the communal aspect of Mass. Mass is not just about our personal encounter with God, it is a shared experience. Those around us are also participating in worship, seeking God's presence and favor. Clothing that communicates negativity or disrespect can subtly distract or disturb others, shifting their focus from God to the inappropriate message displayed. This is not about judgment or legalism. It is about recognizing that our choices carry consequences in a spiritual space. Choosing clothing that uplifts, respects, and honors the sacred environment contributes to a collective atmosphere where God's presence can move freely. Finally, being mindful of what we wear is a demonstration of spiritual maturity and intentionality. It shows that we understand the importance of the sacred moment, that we value the presence of God, and that we are willing to submit even our outward appearance to His authority. By avoiding clothing with offensive images or words, we declare with our hearts and actions that we are focused, respectful, and fully present in worship. Every garment can either enhance or hinder our spiritual experience. Choosing wisely aligns our outward expression with our inward devotion, creating a space for God's power, peace, and blessings to flow. When we step into Mass with garments that honor God and respect the sacred atmosphere, we are opening ourselves to a deeper, more meaningful encounter. Offensive clothing, no matter how casual or common it may seem in everyday life, has no place in this holy space. It can block attention, disrupt focus, and even dim the spiritual light of the moment. God notices these choices, and so does the atmosphere we are trying to enter. By being intentional with what we wear, we allow the sacredness of Mass to shine, ensuring that our hearts, minds, and spirits are fully aligned to receive the presence and blessings of God. Garment 3, torn, dirty, or neglected clothing. When attending Holy Mass, it is essential to remember that we are entering a sacred space, a place set apart for worship and encounter with God. The garments we choose to wear send a message, not just to others, but to God Himself. Wearing torn, dirty, or neglected clothing communicates carelessness and a lack of reverence. Even if unintentionally, God deserves our best, not the leftovers or items we wouldn't be proud to present elsewhere. Choosing worn out or sloppy garments diminishes the respect we show for the holy moment and for the one we are coming to honor. Holy Mass is an opportunity to approach God with a heart fully devoted, and our outward appearance is an extension of that devotion. When we dress neatly, cleanly, and with intention, we demonstrate that we value the encounter and that we are offering our best, not just in words and prayers, but in our actions. Sloppy clothing can subtly affect our own mindset, making it harder to focus and enter fully into the sacred experience. It can also be a distraction to others, drawing attention away from worship and toward what is out of place. By giving God our best in clothing, we are practicing spiritual discipline and showing that we take this sacred moment seriously. It is not about perfection or pride. It is about honor, respect, and intentionality. Clean, well-kept garments reflect a heart prepared to receive, a spirit ready to engage, and a life-seeking alignment with God's presence. Every detail matters, and even something as simple as clothing can influence the depth of our spiritual experience. Choosing carefully ensures that nothing distracts from the power, peace, and blessings available in Holy Mass. Garment 4, casual or sloppy wear like pajamas or gym clothes. When we think about attending Holy Mass, the mindset we bring is just as important as the words we speak in prayer or the posture we assume during worship. But another crucial factor, often overlooked, is the clothing we choose. Wearing casual or sloppy garments like pajamas, gym clothes, or anything too informal may seem harmless or convenient, but in reality, it sends a message about our attitude toward the sacred space we are entering. Holy Mass is not an ordinary event, it is a divine appointment, a moment when heaven touches earth. The way we present ourselves reflects the reverence, honor, and respect we hold for that encounter. When we show up in overly casual or sloppy attire, we risk undermining the sanctity of the moment, even unintentionally. Casual clothing often communicates a relaxed or indifferent attitude. While comfort is important, it should not overshadow respect. Holy Mass is about more than just attending, it is about participation in the holy presence of God. Wearing pajamas, gym clothes, or excessively casual outfits can subconsciously influence our own mindset, making it harder to engage fully in prayer, reflection, and worship. The body and mind are interconnected. The way we dress can shape the way we feel and act. When we present ourselves thoughtfully and respectfully, our minds and hearts follow suit, preparing us to enter a state of worship and openness to God's presence. Moreover, our clothing affects the communal atmosphere. Mass is a shared spiritual experience. The sacred environment is created collectively by the hearts and minds of everyone present. Casual or sloppy attire can distract others even subtly, drawing focus away from God and toward human imperfection. Dressing with intentionality, on the other hand, contributes to a unified atmosphere of reverence and devotion, making it easier for everyone present to focus on God's presence without distractions. Respecting the sacredness of Holy Mass through our attire is an act of honor and obedience. It demonstrates that we understand the significance of the moment, that we value God's presence, and that we are willing to align even our outward appearance with the inward devotion of our hearts. It is not about pride, judgment, or legalism. It is about cultivating a mindset of reverence, humility, and intentionality. Every garment we wear communicates something, and casual or sloppy clothing can send the wrong message, signaling a lack of preparation or care. When we choose appropriate attire, we show that we are serious about our encounter with God. We demonstrate spiritual maturity by understanding that even small choices like the clothes on our bodies carry weight in a sacred space. Dressing respectfully opens the door to a deeper experience of worship, allowing our hearts to connect more fully with God and creating a fertile environment for blessings, revelation, and spiritual growth. It is a simple but powerful way to honor God, respect ourselves, and uplift the entire community gathered in His presence. Attending Holy Mass is an opportunity to bring our best, our hearts, our minds, and yes, our clothing. Sloppy or casual attire may be comfortable, but it diminishes the intentionality of our worship and subtly affects the atmosphere around us. By dressing with care, choosing modest, neat, and respectful garments, we align ourselves with the sacredness of the moment. We declare that we value God's presence, that we are fully engaged, and that we are ready to receive everything He has prepared for us. The garments we wear are more than clothing. They are expressions of our devotion, reverence, and respect. They set the tone for our worship, shape the spiritual environment, and open the door to a powerful encounter with God. Garment 5. Anything that distracts others. Holy Mass is a sacred encounter, a time when our hearts, minds, and spirits are meant to focus entirely on God. Every detail matters, from our posture to our words, from our attitude to, yes, even the garments we wear. Clothing that is flashy, loud, or overly distracting may seem like a personal choice, but in the context of Mass, it carries far-reaching spiritual and communal consequences. When our attire draws attention to ourselves instead of to God, it subtly shifts the focus away from worship. The atmosphere of reverence, prayer, and devotion that should fill the sacred space can be fractured, leaving both ourselves and others less able to connect with the divine presence. Flashy or attention-grabbing clothing can be a distraction in several ways. It can draw the eyes and thoughts of others away from prayer, reflection, and worship. Worship is meant to be communal. When one person's garments dominate attention, it unintentionally disrupts the collective focus on God. Even small details such as bright colors, excessive patterns, sparkling accessories, or logos and slogans that stand out can redirect attention. While these choices may feel personal and harmless, in a sacred space they become a distraction, pulling the eyes and sometimes even the minds of fellow worshipers toward human display rather than divine connection. This is not about suppressing personal expression or condemning individuality. Rather, it is about understanding that certain spaces require intentionality and respect. Holy Mass is not a fashion show. It is a place of encounter, worship, and transformation. Clothing that diverts attention can interfere with the spiritual experience, not only for ourselves, but also for others. Our goal is to create an environment where the presence of God can move freely without obstacles or distractions. When our garments demand attention even subtly, it can hinder the flow of focus, reflection, and spiritual engagement. Being mindful of distracting clothing is also a reflection of spiritual maturity. It demonstrates that we are aware of the impact our choices have on the communal worship experience. The garments we wear are a form of silent communication, speaking volumes before a word is even spoken. Choosing modest, understated, and respectful clothing communicates a heart that values God's presence over human recognition, that prioritizes the sacred moment over personal display. It is an act of humility and honor, showing that our purpose in attending Mass is not self-centered, but God-centered. Moreover, avoiding flashy or distracting clothing aligns our outward appearance with our inward devotion. Worship is both an internal and external experience. Our hearts, minds, and actions should all work in harmony to glorify God. When our clothing pulls focus toward ourselves, it creates a disconnect between our spiritual intention and our outward expression. By choosing garments that honor the sacredness of Mass, we create alignment, allowing our hearts and actions to be fully attuned to worship. In addition, dressing thoughtfully enhances our ability to receive blessings, revelation, and spiritual encounters. The sacred space of Mass is intended for communion with God. When distractions are minimized, the atmosphere becomes fertile for divine encounters, clarity, and spiritual growth. Our choices in attire contribute directly to this environment. Flashy, loud, or attention-seeking clothing, however subtle, can interfere with this sacred flow, making it harder to engage fully and receive the richness God has prepared for us. Ultimately, our garments should reflect reverence, humility, and intentionality. Avoiding clothing that distracts others is not about judgment. It is about creating space for God's presence to manifest powerfully. When we honor God through our attire, we demonstrate a heart that is fully present, fully devoted, and fully aligned with the sacred moment. Every Mass is an opportunity to step into God's presence with focus, devotion, and respect. The clothing we choose can either support that encounter or hinder it. By selecting garments that uplift the spirit, respect the sacredness of the space, and allow others to focus on God, we open the door to a deeper, more transformative experience of worship, blessing, and divine encounter. Practical tip 1. Choose respectful, modest garments. Choosing the right garments for Holy Mass is not about legalism or strict rules. It is about honoring God with our presence, showing reverence, and creating an atmosphere that allows His Spirit to move freely. Practical tip 1 is simple. Choose respectful, modest clothing that aligns with the sacredness of the space. Modesty is not about hiding yourself or rejecting style. It is about balance, intention, and respect. Clothing that is modest communicates humility and honor, signaling that your heart is focused on God rather than on drawing attention to yourself. It is a silent prayer, a visible declaration that you value the encounter with the divine. Comfort and reverence can go hand in hand. Many people think that dressing modestly means sacrificing comfort or personal expression, but that is not the case. Comfortable clothing allows you to participate fully in worship without distraction, while modesty ensures that your attire communicates respect. For women, this could mean knee-length skirts or dresses that allow movement and comfort while remaining modest, paired with simple blouses or tops that do not reveal too much. For men, tailored pants or clean, casual slacks with collared shirts, polos, or simple dress shirts can provide both comfort and a reverent appearance. Avoid tight, overly revealing, or excessively casual pieces like workout gear or pajama-like outfits. The goal is to feel at ease while showing honor to God and the sacred space you are entering. Colors and patterns also play a role. Neutral, soft, or solid colors tend to maintain focus on worship and minimize distraction, though tasteful patterns can be appropriate if they do not draw attention away from the Mass. Accessories should be subtle, avoiding anything overly flashy or loud that could divert attention from God. Even shoes should be neat and clean, reflecting care and presentation without becoming a distraction. The overall principle is to select clothing that allows you to be fully present in spirit and mind, without worry about whether your outfit is drawing attention in the wrong way. Another important aspect is intentionality. Choosing modest, respectful clothing is a deliberate act of preparation for the sacred moment. It shows that you have considered the significance of Mass and are approaching it with a heart of reverence. This small act of discipline sets the tone for your worship, helping your mind and spirit focus on God rather than personal comfort, style, or trends. Every detail matters because every detail communicates something, even if unconsciously, to the spiritual atmosphere and to those around you. Practical examples include pairing a simple dress with a light cardigan or shawl for women, or wearing clean slacks with a collared shirt for men. Avoid garments that are ripped, dirty, overly tight, excessively flashy, or immodest. Layers can be helpful for maintaining modesty and comfort, allowing you to adapt to different temperatures without compromising reverence. Think of your clothing as an offering, a gift of respect and intention, signaling that your presence in the sacred space is purposeful and aligned with the reverence God deserves. Choosing respectful, modest garments enhances the spiritual experience for yourself and others. It helps you enter a posture of worship, aligns your outward appearance with your inward devotion, and minimizes distractions in the sacred environment. By preparing thoughtfully and dressing with intentionality, you communicate that you value God's presence and are ready to receive His blessings, guidance, and revelation. Every choice matters, and through modesty and respect in clothing, we open the door to a fuller, deeper encounter with the divine during Holy Mass. Practical tip 2: maintain cleanliness and neatness. Attending Holy Mass is not only about our hearts and intentions, but also about the respect and honor we display through our outward actions. One of the simplest yet most powerful ways to demonstrate this reverence is through maintaining cleanliness and neatness in our clothing. Clean, well-kept garments are more than just appearances. They are a reflection of our spiritual discipline, our mindfulness, and the value we place on the sacred encounter with God. When we take the time to care for what we wear, it communicates that we approach Holy Mass with intentionality, respect, and a heart prepared to worship fully. Clothing that is wrinkled, stained, or unkempt sends a subtle message of carelessness. It can inadvertently affect how we feel, how others perceive us, and even the spiritual atmosphere of the Mass. God sees the heart behind every action, and when we present ourselves in neat, clean garments, it reflects a heart that desires to honor Him in every way. Cleanliness is an act of spiritual discipline. It is a practical expression of reverence, demonstrating that we take our time and effort seriously, not just in our prayers and posture, but in every detail of our preparation. When we enter Mass with neat, well cared for clothing, it enhances our focus, allowing us to be fully present in worship, free from distraction or discomfort. Neatness also communicates respect for the sacred space and the people around us. Mass is a communal experience, and our attire contributes to the collective atmosphere of reverence. When clothing is clean and orderly, it minimizes distractions and encourages others to concentrate on God rather than on outward appearances. In contrast, neglected or messy garments can draw attention away from worship and subtly disrupt the unity of focus among the congregation. Taking care of our clothing is a way of uplifting the entire community, showing that we honor God and respect those around us. Caring for clothing is also about intention and preparation. Washing, ironing, and ensuring garments are presentable before attending Mass is a tangible way of demonstrating spiritual readiness. It is a simple act that aligns our outward appearance with our inward devotion. When we take time to prepare ourselves physically, it sets the tone for the spiritual experience that follows. We are telling God, I value this encounter. I am ready to honor you in every detail. Every wrinkle smoothed, every stain removed, every accessory neatly placed is a step toward creating a posture of humility, focus, and respect. Practical tips include setting aside specific garments for Mass, ensuring they are clean, pressed, and in good condition. Simple routines like checking clothes the night before, folding or hanging them properly, and maintaining personal hygiene all contribute to presenting ourselves in a way that honors the sacred occasion. These acts of care, while small, have a profound spiritual impact. They reinforce discipline, cultivate respect, and demonstrate our willingness to approach God with our best. Maintaining cleanliness and neatness in our clothing is not about perfectionism or pride. It is about honoring God through intentional preparation and discipline. It is a visible reflection of a heart aligned with reverence, humility, and devotion. When we take care to present ourselves in the best possible way, we create an environment conducive to worship, blessing, and spiritual encounter. Clean, neat garments open the door for God's presence to move freely, allowing us to receive fully in every dimension, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. By practicing this simple yet powerful principle, we show that every detail of our lives, even the clothes we wear, can become an offering of honor to the Lord during Holy Mass. Final reflection and spiritual reminder. So God notices every detail, every thought, every action, every word, and yes, even every piece of clothing we wear carries meaning before Him. Holy Mass is not an ordinary event. It is a sacred appointment, a divine encounter, a moment when heaven touches earth. In this holy space, nothing is trivial. Our garments, the way we present ourselves, and the choices we make before entering the church all communicate to God the condition of our hearts. The clothing we wear is more than fabric covering the body. It is a message, a prayer, a declaration of our reverence, humility, and readiness to worship. When we dress with care and intentionality, we are saying to God, I honor you, I respect this moment, I desire to encounter you fully. Every fold, Every layer, every piece chosen thoughtfully is a reflection of the love and devotion in our hearts. Conversely, careless or inappropriate clothing may communicate an unintentional lack of focus or reverence. It is not that God cannot move in any circumstance, but our presentation reflects our awareness and our desire to approach Him with honor. Clothing is a spiritual language, and in sacred spaces, every detail speaks volumes. God sees beyond the surface and reads the intention behind our choices. This principle extends beyond mass into every aspect of our lives. God values hearts that approach Him with intentionality, humility, and respect. Our clothing is one of the simplest ways to demonstrate these qualities. It is a visible expression of inner devotion, a silent prayer that accompanies our spoken words. When we choose modest, clean, neat, and respectful garments, we align our outward actions with our inward worship. This alignment opens the door for divine favor, blessing, and revelation. It allows the Spirit to move freely in our hearts and in the communal space, unencumbered by distraction or distraction caused by our own choices. Consider this: even small details matter to God. Just as He notices acts of kindness, obedience, and faith, He notices the reverence with which we approach Him. Our clothing is an extension of our heart. When we dress appropriately for Mass, we are practicing spiritual discipline, showing humility, and setting a tone for worship that aligns with God's holiness. Every decision, no matter how small, carries weight in the spiritual realm. The way we present ourselves can either facilitate or hinder the flow of God's presence, blessings, and guidance. This reminder is not about legalism or fear. It is about understanding the profound impact of honoring God in all areas of life. Clothing is one of the most immediate, tangible ways to demonstrate respect, reverence, and readiness to receive from God. When we approach Him with intentionality, when our hearts and outward appearance are aligned, it creates a space for His power to manifest fully. God notices. He sees the care we put into our choices, the thoughtfulness of our preparation, and the devotion reflected in every detail of our presentation. Your garments are more than just clothing. They are a message from your heart to God. They speak before a word is spoken, they set the tone for your encounter, and they reflect the alignment of your spirit with His presence. When you approach Holy Mass with attention, care, and reverence in every detail, you open the door to divine encounters, blessings, and revelations that go beyond what the eye can see. God honors hearts that honor Him, and every thoughtful choice, including your clothing, is noticed in heaven. Let this be a reminder: your outward appearance is a reflection of your inward devotion, and when aligned with reverence, it becomes a powerful conduit for God's presence to move mightily in your life. Now that we've explored the garments to avoid during Holy Mass and the spiritual significance of dressing with reverence, I want to hear from you. Have you ever stopped to think about how your clothing communicates your heart to God? Maybe you've noticed moments where your outfit or even someone else's subtly affected your focus or the atmosphere of worship. Perhaps it sparked reflection on the importance of intentionality and respect when entering God's presence. I want you to take a moment and share your experiences in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else to approach Holy Mass with deeper awareness and reverence. Engagement is more than just participation. It's about community and growth. When you share your thoughts, your insights, or even your realizations about how clothing can impact worship, you contribute to a dialogue that helps all of us grow spiritually. Every comment matters because it reflects reflection, honesty, and a willingness to learn. Don't hold back. Be open and sincere. You never know whose perspective your words might touch or whose spiritual journey you might encourage. And while you're reflecting, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you ensure that you won't miss more prophetic teachings, spiritual guidance, and practical insights that can transform your walk with God. This channel is dedicated to helping you deepen your faith, understand divine principles, and experience God's presence in everyday life. Subscribing is more than just joining a community, it's a step toward receiving regular encouragement, revelation, and guidance that can strengthen your spiritual journey. So comment below, share your experiences, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful teachings. Your participation matters, your voice matters, and most importantly, your heart matters to God. Let's grow together in faith, understanding, and reverence as we continue to explore the ways we can honor Him fully in every thought, action, and even in the garments we wear.